Yes, I made a big decision. I gave it all to Christ. I just had to get it right. He means so much to me. Now I know why he's testing me.
Welcome to the He Loves Me, He Loves Me Not podcast with Barbara Pettis, founder and CEO of Better Place Ministries. Barbara's passion for this cause is driven by her own personal experiences with domestic abuse in both her childhood and as an adult. She is committed to helping others achieve their goals of excellence and has devoted numerous hours to educate and empower individuals that are affected by domestic violence. Her enthusiasm for this cause is infectious, and it represents her personal zeal in life. And now, here's your host, Barbara Pettis.
Welcome to another episode of He Loves Me, He Loves Me Not. Thank you guys so much for taking this time out to spend it with me. But before we get started, I have a little bit of housekeeping to take care of. So this podcast is made possible by the philanthropic endeavors of Victoria Grace Media. Thank you so much, Victoria Grace Media, for doing this. They do a lot of charitable things, and to make this podcast one of them means so much to me. So thank you so much for that. So each month, you guys, I told you that we will be giving away a gift at the end of each month, but you have to do something to get it. You have to share this podcast with at least 3 to 5 people every week. And then at the end of the month, I'm going to check to see who has shared the most, and you will get a prize. And I like free gifts. Don't you guys like free gifts? All right. So we'll be tracking that. And now listen, I want you to also go to Better Place Ministries, our Facebook page, and like us on Facebook. I want you to go to Twitter and follow us on Twitter. It's at B Pettis Ministry. Go to my YouTube page, Better Place Ministries. Subscribe to Better Place Ministries. Also, visit my website, www.bpministries.org. And just check out the website as well. So we are looking for donors and sponsors. So if you are wanting to be a donor, go to the website and check out the donor page. Again, that's www.bpministries.org. And we are looking for sponsors as well. If you have a business that you want to promote or just get the word out there, get in touch with us. We would love to have you as a sponsor, and we will promote your business. Again, it's www.bpministries.org. Thank you so much. All right, we have a very good show for you today. And before I bring my guest on, we have Patty Bryant Jones, who will be joining us here shortly. But before I bring her on, so I posted on Facebook. You guys know I post at least weekly, to maybe 2 or 3 times a week on Facebook, of something about domestic violence. And so I posted last week, and it was just images of women and children that had been abused. And one particular person that saw the posting, you know how you put the little emojis or whatever on there, hers was one that was laughing, and that really disturbed me. And I don't know if she thought it was a joke, or I don't know where her head was, but that really disturbed me. So I pulled some statistics. Well, some letters, about domestic violence. And one of them was a woman fatally shot by ex-boyfriend. And so I did this on purpose. I wanted to put it in your face on purpose, because this is real. This is not a joke, you guys. People are dying every single day from being abused. Women and children are dying. Even now, somebody is dealing with some kind of abuse, whether it is physical, verbal, emotional, sexual, whatever it is, somebody is dealing with abuse even now. And so this article says a woman was killed Sunday morning in far northeast Dallas by her ex-boyfriend, who later killed himself. And that really disturbs me too, because that's the coward way out. So you've done something wrong and you're going to kill the woman and yourself, so you won't have to go to prison. So that disturbs me as well. But the Dallas police, they're asking ladies, they're urging victims to seek help. Seek help. Let them know. I know that the laws and everything need to be better. I get it. And if I could figure out a way to fight for the laws to be better, I would. But listen, you've got to let somebody know what's going on so you can get the help that you need. Please do that. Please reach out to the police department. Please reach out to one of the shelters, somewhere. Let somebody know that you're in trouble. You or your children are in trouble and you need help. That's the only way that we're going to be able to do what we do to try to help somebody. This young lady was only 25 years old. She was only 25 years old, and he killed her and then killed himself. And, I pulled another article because it's not just the men that are abusing. This article says, woman accused of killing her 2 kids with a meat cleaver. Hear me clearly. With a meat cleaver after argument with her husband. She killed her children after an argument with her husband. So you can't tell me that abuse is not real. You can't tell me that children are suffering. People are suffering. This woman, I guess she called herself going to hurt her husband by killing the children. Really? Yeah. Got another one for you. And I'm doing this on purpose. Now, there's a method to my madness. I'm doing this on purpose. Man chases estranged wife with knives onto field of their child's sporting event, police say. He was chasing her. He had knives in both hands. He chased her onto the soccer field where her child was playing soccer. Fortunately, people saw what was happening and they were able to tackle him and hold him down until the police got there. I want that to sink in. It's happening even now. Something is happening even now. Here we go. Here's another one. And again, I'm doing this on purpose. Texas man ran over, hear me. Texas man ran over wife with truck. They were in an argument. She went to the truck. He was getting ready to leave. She went to the truck because she still wanted to talk about it. She slipped and fell. He ran over her. She was 8 months pregnant. 8 months pregnant. He killed the child. He ran over her and her, he crushed her pelvic. And what else was it? Let me find it. Because I want you to know. I want you to know that this is real. This is not something that we're making up. Those of us that are domestic violence advocates and stuff. This is not anything that we're making up to scare people. This thing is real. He crushed his wife's pelvis and fractured her hips. Yeah, I want all of this to sink in today because I'm a little bit irritated today. Texas mom is shot dead after loading her kids into the car for school. She loaded her kids into the car. Her boyfriend came out, shot and killed her in front of the kids. And the article says the kids were not harmed. Yes, they were. Yes, they were. They were harmed when they saw their mom get shot in front of them. They were harmed, and they will be harmed for the rest of their lives. They will need counseling for the rest of their lives. This thing is real. This thing is serious. And I am so sick and tired of it. I'm so sick and tired of cowards. Let's just call them what they are. They're cowards. I'm sick and tired of them taking these women and children's lives just because of what? What point are you trying to prove? That you are a man? Men don't do that. Men don't hit. Men don't beat. Men don't belittle. You're not a man. You're a coward. You are a coward. And you're taking away someone's daughter. You're taking away someone's sister. You're taking away someone's niece. And I'm tired of it. This one really got me. A boy is the sole survivor of a family massacre. His dad killed his mom. She ran out of the house trying to get away. He chased her into the neighbor's yard, beat her with a bat, killed her, went back inside of the house, killed his autistic daughter with a knife. Then he got the son, set him on fire, stabbed him, and set him on fire. The son is the only survivor. And what disturbs me most about this one is this man is defending himself in court. And he was able to cross-examine the son that he stabbed and set on fire. What is that? I mean, really, can somebody help me understand that? What is that? How was that even made possible for him to cross-examine the child that he tried to kill? I don't get it. Maybe somebody out there does, but I don't get it. And I'm so bothered today. I really am. I'm so bothered today. I'm bothered again because whoever the person was on my Facebook page did the little laugh emoji when I posted those images. This is not funny. This is so serious. It's so serious. And we've got to take a stand, you guys. We've got to do something. If you know somebody that is being abused in any shape, form, or fashion, you have an obligation to do something. You can do it anonymously. They don't even have to know that you did it, but you could do it anonymously. You could be saving someone's life. I can't stress that enough. You can be saving someone's life. But then, there's a flip side of people that like me. I survived abuse. My guest that I'm going to be bringing on here shortly, she survived abuse. You can survive it, but you got to tell somebody. You've got to seek help. You've got to tell somebody. You've got to seek help. And you can't go back. You just cannot go back. Because they're going to be angry that, first of all, you told somebody. They're going to be angry that you had the audacity to leave in the first place. And then you go back. That's double trouble. But there is life after abuse. And I wish that I could just save everybody, but I can't. There's no saving power in me, but I can do what I can to help. I can do what I can to try to get them to a safe place and steer them in the right direction. You can do what you can by alerting authorities. You can do what you can by maybe providing funds for them to go to a safe place. You can do something. We can do something. We can do something. So I just wanted to share that to let you guys know that this is not a game. This is not a scare tactic. This thing is real. And it's happening even now. Even now, somebody is being abused. So pay attention to the signs. I said last week, I believe that if you have a daughter and she's dating someone and her behavior has changed, you better start asking questions. You better start paying attention to the signs. If she's normally cheerful and joyful and now she's reserved and in her room or not wanting to socialize, you better start asking some serious questions. All right, I want to bring my guest on because she is a survivor. Patty Bryant Jones is a survivor of domestic abuse who refused to allow her abuse to be the final chapter of her life. She was able to triumph over domestic violence, and now she shares her story in an entertaining and down-to-earth manner that hopefully makes the painful inequalities of abuse easier to understand and easier to share. She originally went to the family place over 16 years ago as a victim of domestic violence. She later returned to volunteer and is currently serving as the program department coordinator. She is a life coach helping those needing her services navigate the rough waters we sometimes call life. She founded You Know Me, not only to share her story, but also in order to help others who have been impacted by domestic violence. And I've not heard her story, so I'm excited to hear her story. She says she has this saying under her name that I think is just awesome. Right under her signature, she has a vision without a plan is a hallucination. And I think that is awesome. I love it. I love it. Patty, thank you so much for joining us today. I cannot wait to hear your story because I don't know it either. So I can't wait to hear your story. And her motto, you guys, is there is life after abuse. Yes, it is. Patty, welcome to He Loves Me, He Loves Me Not.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right. So I want you to go ahead, share if something more about yourself that you want to share, go ahead and do that. And then share with us your story.
All right. Thank you. As you stated earlier, my name is Patty Bryant Jones. I am the program department coordinator here at the Family Place. Um, Serving with the Family Place has been a real reward in my life. Being able to come in contact with, have an impact on victims affected by domestic violence, whether those victims are women, children, or men. What I come into work every day to do is to bring my passion to allow clients to know that you may have suffered abuse, but there is life after. You can survive it, and we're here to help you to do that. I don't look at domestic violence as the end of a chapter, just the middle of the book. And there's always something, unless that abuse takes your life, that we can do after the abuse.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I so agree with you because we are living proof that there's life after abuse. We're living proof that your past does not dictate your future. And you can live a happy, thriving life after everything you've been through. Those are some tough lessons. Yes, they are. But you can live and thrive. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. So tell us about your story, Patty.
Okay, a little bit about my story. A lot of times people think that they know what a domestic violence victim looks like. Unfortunately, a lot of times people think a domestic violence victim is African American or Hispanic, poor, and uneducated, but that's not always the truth. I'm a college graduate of Stephen F. Austin State University. I grew up in a home with a mother who, if you know anything about some families, we went to church anytime the church doors was open. If church was going on, we were at church. And if it was Sunday school, we were at church. If it was church service, we were at church. If it was choir rehearsal, we were at church. But what didn't happen in my house was to talk about domestic violence. Mm-hmm. I didn't know anything about it. No one had told me about it. I hadn't witnessed it. I didn't know anything about domestic violence. So it wasn't a subject that we brought up in my home. I was not naive about life. I just did not know that part of life.
Right.
I graduated from high school, graduated from Stephen F. Austin University, had never, ever had anyone to ever put their hands on me other than my mother to give me discipline. Mm-hmm. And so domestic violence just wasn't a part of my life. After graduating from Stephen F. Austin, I met a man. I met a man that seemed to love me for who I was. Because at the time that he met me, being a college graduate, I thought that I knew everything and I had all the answers. And I went home one day and I told my mother, I'm college educated, I have a degree, I'm making my own money. I don't really want to get married, but I do think I want to have a child. That wasn't my mother's way to go. You get married, then you have kids. But
Mm-hmm.
because I was young and thought I had the answers to all the key, I was gonna say, well, I'm gonna have this child. So I had a good friend. He and we conceived my son. And in my 5th month of pregnancy, I met the man that I would later marry. He seems like a very good man. None of the time while we were dating did he ever talk bad to me. Did he ever do anything that would make me think that he would ever put his hands on me? The whole time we dated, he was just a natural gentleman, and that's what I knew him to be.
Mm-hmm.
Married after my son was born. About 6 months into my marriage, we went to his mother's home, and we were standing and talking, and I said something that he did not like, that he did not agree with, and he took his fist and he hit me in my face in front of his parents. I landed on the ground, and in that moment, I naturally thought that his parents would help me.
Yeah.
No one said a word. And so I realized that if he could hit me in front of his parents, he could probably kill me as well.
Mm-hmm.
I got up, I got in my car, and I left. And I don't know if anyone listening knows about the cycle of abuse, but what happens with the cycle of abuse, there's the honeymoon phase, there's the calm stage when absolutely nothing is going on, there's the build-up phase, and then there's the outburst of abuse. I didn't know anything about the calm phase. I didn't know anything about the build-up stage. All I knew is that this abuse burst in this moment, and I was the recipient of it. I got home. I was afraid. The next day he came. He was crying. He said he was sorry and he would never do that again, and he don't know why he did this, and if I could just please forgive him.
Yeah.
Well, with me growing up in a family of going to church, where when you get married, you stay married, and what goes on in your home stays in your home. I did not tell my mother. I did not tell any friends. And because I was college educated, I thought, well, I love him. He said he loves me. So for whatever reason he did that, I can fix him. I can change him. Because I love him, and my love and my educated self would change him and fix him.
Mm-hmm.
That was my naive thinking. Well, in that moment, I didn't realize that when I allowed that moment to happen, because I didn't know what was going on, that started the abuse in my life. Because I had a good job, he did not ever, after that one time, hit me in my face because he wanted me to be able to go to work. So my abuse was kicks in the head, kicks in my back, kicks in my stomach, kicks and slaps and hits where the bruises didn't show. My body stayed full of bruises because I was being consistently abused on a regular basis. But I got up every day and I went to work and I never told anyone. When my son was about 6 months pregnant, we were coming home from work and I got out of the car. I was holding my son. He came around to my side of the car and slammed the car door on my face, which broke my jaw. We got back in the car. He took me to the ER, but on the way to the ER, he told me very clearly, if you tell them what happened to you, they'll take your son and they'll put him in CPS. There was no way I was going to allow that happen. And because I did not know anything about domestic abuse, I believed that was true. So when I got to the hospital, the ER doctors knew that there was no way that the door just bounced back on my face and hit my face with enough force to hit my jaw.
Right.
They knew that. And when he was not in the room, they tried over and over to convince me to tell them what happened. I continually told them nothing happened other than I got out and the door came back and hit me. What domestic violence does, along with the abuse, it teaches you how to lie.
Yes.
It teaches you how to conceal. It teaches you to find a way to make other things the reason why you have this bruise or why you have this limp. And so it teaches you how to lie. I was very close to my mother. I lived in East Texas. She lived in Dallas, very close to my mother. But I learned to lie to my mother, unfortunately. When she would call and say, why haven't you been here in a while? Or when my mouth was wired shut for 6 months because of my broken jaw. And she said, well, why haven't you come to visit? I learned to lie to my mother. Well, I'm working. I'm doing overtime. I can't come in. I was not afraid of my mother. And to be honest with you, I was not even ashamed to tell her that I was being hit. What I did know, that I came from a family that defended their own. And if
Mm-hmm.
I told my mother that this man was abusing me, he wouldn't have lived very long.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I would have been responsible for someone's death. That's how I saw it. Now, I know people think that with abuse, well, why didn't you go? Why didn't you leave? Well, I didn't go and I didn't leave because I believed I could change him. I believed my love was strong enough that I could love her through it. I believe, as my mother had taught me, once you get married, you stay married, and what happens in your house stays in your house. You don't tell anyone. So I kept those secrets to myself. I kept the abuse to myself. I kept his infidelity to myself because I believed that's what I needed to do as a good wife. I found myself with a 1-year-old son and pregnant, but the abuse was just continuing to get worse, even through the pregnancy. I was taking massive amount of hits in my head, massive amount of kicks in my stomach and my back, and the abuse was just getting out of control. So I made up my mind when I had my baby, I was going to take my 2 children and leave their marriage. That never got to happen in the way that I thought that it would. In my seventh month of pregnancy, I got up one day. He had been gone for 2 weeks, had no idea where he was. I went to work that day. I came home. He came home that night. He wanted to know, what have you been doing while I was gone? What man have you been with while I was gone? And I could not explain to him that nothing was happening. So the abuse started. And this time, the kick was so forceful. I knew that if I didn't protect my stomach, he would make me lose that baby. So I balled up in a ball, covered myself, and didn't allow him to kick me in my stomach. The next day, I went to work. I felt fine. I thought everything was fine. But later on that day, I felt a little pull in my stomach. And I turned and looked, and I was covered. The bottom of my body and the floor was covered in blood where I was bleeding. I called him at work and asked him to come get me and take me to the hospital. 2 hours later, I was still at my job. So I drove myself to the hospital. When I got there, they told me that I was probably going to lose this baby. And the day that I went to the hospital was my son's 1-year birthday. So I called my mother and asked her to come down. I think I'm going to lose the baby. And so she did, her and my sister. They came down. But when my mother got there, I told her, I said, I have a terrible headache, a really terrible headache. And shortly after that, I told her, I think I'm going to die. And that was the last thing I said to my mother for 2 months because I went into a coma. I had a stroke. I lost the baby that I was with. I lost my vision. And I went into a coma. My umbilical cord is separated from my uterus, causing my whole entire body system to be poisonous, which in turn made me have to have 5 blood transfusions.
Lord have mercy.
They called my mother and asked her to call in my family because they knew that told my mother that I was going to die. My mother, believing in God the way that she did, she said, no, I've called my family. My family's in the lobby, but we're not waiting on her to die. We're waiting on her to do what you need to do to save my daughter. She said she has a 1-year son that I know she loves more than life itself, and God did not give her that child for me to raise. So go back and do something different. They tried all they could. They did. But they finally told my mother, you don't understand. She's going to die. So we need you to sign the papers to remove her from life support. My mother refused to do that. So I lingered in a coma for 2 months. And what I discovered in that coma is that you can actually hear while you're in the coma. You can actually hear, or at least I could actually hear. And I would hear my mother praying for me. I would hear people coming in to visit. But because I did not understand what was going on, I thought I was talking to them as well. But when they would not answer me, I couldn't understand. I'm talking to you. Why aren't you answering me? And my mother later told me that on several occasions while I was in that coma for 2 months, I would have tears roll down my eyes. And she would tell the nurse, oh, my baby's crying today. And the nurse would tell her, no, that's just all the different medications we're giving her that makes water run out of her eyes. My mother said, no, that's my child. And she's crying today. Well, for 2 months, I lingered in that coma, not knowing if I was dead, what was going on with me. And then one day, I just woke up and I didn't know where I was. I didn't know what was going on. And I looked, the only thing I knew to ask for was my mother. When my mother got there, I looked at her. I knew her. She had my son with her. I did not know my son. And so they asked, do you know who this is? I said, well, it's my mother. And then when my mother asked did I know who my son was, I said, it's a baby. You have whose baby? She said, well, this is your baby. And that's when they discovered that I did not have a memory of anything that had happened before. So when they asked me how old I was and what year it was, I told them that I was 18 when I, in fact, was 22. But I thought I was 18. That's as far as my memory went. So in thinking that I was 18 instead of 22, that means I did not know I had a 1-year-old son, and I also did not know I had been married and that I had a husband. My husband used that opportunity to realize that since I didn't know, then I could not press charges against him, that I could not in any way let anyone know what he had done to me. And he used that opportunity. I was not able to press charges against him because I was not able to tell anyone what had happened to me. Mm-hmm. I was not able to tell anyone that I had been abused. I had not been able to tell anyone that he had kicked me and caused me so much grief and pain. So they were not able to arrest him for what he did because I was not able to tell. After being in that coma for 2 months, I then had to go into rehab for 2 months because what was discovered, I did not know how to write. I did not know how to read. I did not know how to walk. And I had to be in rehab for 2 months just to learn to write again, to walk again, to talk, and just to be myself. I did not know how to do those things. After being in the rehab, they told my mother that I could be released. My mother was going to take me home with her. But my mind went back to the training that I had, that once you're married, you're stay married. So they had told me that this was my husband. So I told them, no, I'll go home with my husband. If you guys are saying this is my husband, I'm going to go home with my husband. I could see the look in everybody's faces, but I didn't understand it. And they were not allowed to tell me because the doctors had told them, if I confused my memory with the stories that they would tell me, that I would never know my true history. So they were not allowed to tell me that I was abused. They were not allowed to tell me what would happen. I needed to remember those things on my own. So I did go home with him. He was very nice, very kind, very loving. He didn't show any signs that he had abused me in any way. About 2 months into being with him, we were talking one day and he put his arm above my head to get something out of a cabinet, and I ducked. I wasn't sure why I ducked, but I just felt the need to move. He quickly asked me what was wrong, and I told him, oh, nothing. I don't think anything was wrong because I felt fear at that time. The next day when he went to work, I called my mother and I asked her, did he ever used to hit me? And I could hear the fear in my mother's voice, and she said, why? What has happened? I said, oh, nothing happened. I said, I just kind of thought maybe he had. And she said, well, what do you want me to do? I said, well, I'm a little afraid. Can you come pick me up? And she said, well, what time does he go to work? And I told her at 8 o'clock. And she said she would be there at 8:05 the next day. And at 8:05, she was there the next day with her truck and her brother's truck. And we loaded up my car, my home, and she brought me back to Dallas. When he got off from work that evening, he called and he asked, was his wife there? And my mother said yes. And he said, well, I'm coming to get my wife. Well, my mother realized at that time, but now this is my house. We're on a different ground. And her response to him was, yes, please come get your wife. please come get her. Mm-hmm. And he knew exactly what that meant. And so I never saw him after that. Mm-hmm. I had to start to learn what abuse was, but I had a 1-year-old son. And I had all these blows to the head. So after all that trauma to the head, it left me with a brain bleed. It left me with epilepsy, which I still have to this day. That epilepsy is grand mal seizures. It's occasional eyesight blindness where I lose my eyesight for maybe 15 minutes at a time, and then it returns. And I also have a syndrome where I can be staring off for 15 to 20 minutes at a time and not knowing or not realizing that I'm even doing it, and I can't hear anything anybody's saying or understand or comprehend. That is what all the bruise, all the licks and hits and kicks to the head left me with. They put me on disability. I was 22 years old on disability with a 1-year-old son. And I was at my house mostly, not doing anything, not going anywhere. And I had a sister who told my mother that Pat needs therapy. And my mother said she doesn't need therapy. We just need to pray about it. And my sister said, this time prayer is not all we can do. She needs therapy. So they got me to the family place. I had group therapy with the family place that was awesome because I got to see other women had went through things similar to mine and maybe even worse because I thought I was the only one.
Yeah.
But I come to find out I was not the only one.
Yeah.
And after doing therapy with the family place, it opened up my life to so many things that I did not understand. And I found out one thing that I have taken with me and I try to give to other women. Abuse is never your fault.
That's right.
It is never your fault.
So
It doesn't matter what you said. It doesn't matter what you did. It doesn't matter what book you gave them. Abuse is never your fault. And abusers often say, I just can help myself. Well, I do a domestic violence education group here at the family place every Friday. And one of the things the women tell me is that, yeah, that's what they say. That if you hadn't done this, then I wouldn't have done this. I said, well, let me give you an example of how you know that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
When their boss tells them something they don't like, they don't hit their boss.
Right. Right.
When you go into a store and somebody accidentally rolls the buggy into you and it makes you mad, you don't hit the person in the store.
Right.
And that's because you know you can control your emotions.
Right.
So when they tell you I can control myself for hitting you, just know that's not true. And a bruise is never about you. You can't love them enough. You can't cook enough of the right food. You can't wear the right clothes enough. You can't be thin enough. You can't be fat enough. You can't wear your hair the right way enough because the abuse is never about you.
Mm-hmm.
It's about them.
Mm-hmm.
And because a lot of times men know women don't understand that, they use that to their advantage.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
But I did go to the family place. I did get the counseling that I needed. And when I realized that I still had so much in this brain, even though it left me with epilepsy and other situations, I still had a lot to offer. And after being with the family place, I volunteered my services for 8 years with the family place at the BIP office, which, for those that don't know what BIP is, it's Batteries Intervention Prevention Program. And the family place offers that to the batterers of domestic violence. For groups, it's a 6-month program where they offer groups where they can go once a week for an hour and a half each week, whether the batterers are male or female. That's what they offer. And when I went to go volunteer there, the volunteer coordinator at the time said, are you sure you want to volunteer with BIP? Did you read what it was? I said, I did read what it was. I said, but unfortunately, I now know what it's like to be abused. I don't understand the mentality of the abuser. And so I went to BIP to volunteer, and that's where I was for 8 years. I later became employed with the family place as the administrative assistant, and now I'm the program department coordinator here. I later married, and I've been with my husband now for 28 years. We raised our son, and my son has his own family. So when I say to people there's life after abuse, it's not because someone told me that, but because I've lived it. There is life after abuse. There can be a good life after abuse.
Yeah.
And I was never the reason he abused me, ever. I was never the fault. And I married a man that in all these years has never put his hands on me in a way that would demean me, put a bruise on me, or to make me feel like I'm less than a human being.
Ooh, Patty. Ooh, I'm trying to hold it together over here, girl. If I was close to you, I would just be hugging you right now. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm really trying to hold it together here. There is life after abuse. I'm so grateful to God that He spared your life. Even though, you have the issues, the things that you have going on with you, you're still here. You are a walking, talking, breathing testimony. You are a testimony. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. When I see you, just be ready to get a hug because you're going to get a hug. You
And we could actually hug now.
Yes. I'm still trying to hold myself together here. I go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I really do appreciate you asking me to share my story today because there's just so many women who think that this was about them and it's their fault.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want them to know it's not your fault. And that there is somebody who's willing to love you and wants to love you, but that abuser has his own issues to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't solve his problem. It's like an alcoholic. You can make a person want a person not to drink, but unless they decide to make that change, they're always going to be an alcoholic.
Absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It is never our fault. It never is. And I was just like you. I've been married 3 times. My first husband was my high school sweetheart. And, he was an abuser. My second husband, he died of kidney failure. He wasn't physically abusive to me, but he was emotionally abusive to me. My third husband, I thought I was God and I could change him and teach him how to love and this, that, and a third. And he fractured my nose. Every relationship that I had, even in between marriages, were abusive in some shape, form, or fashion until I started abusing myself. I became an alcoholic. I did drugs, until I learned how to love myself and know that I'm valuable, I'm worthy, and this is not why God created me. None of this was my fault. None of it. My mother was my very first abuser, and I had to learn how to love me. How to accept me and know that I was worth so much more. Know that there is life. There is so much more that I could do and that I should do. And for a long time, I questioned why me. Why was my life so hard? And I'm sure you probably went through that as sure as other people. Why me? And I look back on it now. God was with me even through that to do what I'm doing today, right now, today, because this helps so many people. This lets them know that, yeah, you can get out. And they do cry and I'll never do it again. But if they hit you once, they will hit you again. They will do it again. And what I found, Patty, is what's so interesting to me is that abusers, they don't fight men.
No.
I've not seen one abuser that will hit a man, but they're quick to get them in a woman's face.
Well, we have to remember that domestic violence is not about the violence. Domestic violence is about control.
Mm-hmm.
And who has it.
Mm-hmm.
And once they start the abuse and once they feel like they have the control over you, that's what continues. They have to control you. They check your cell phone. They check your emails. They check the mileage on your car. They some men, they check your clothing.
Yes.
See, when you come in. See, that's about control.
Yes.
That's not the abuse. It's about the control.
Yes.
If they don't feel like they can control you, then they can abuse you. And I heard what you said earlier about the leaving. And I just wanted to say a little bit about that. When a person who has been abused has decided to leave, I just want them to know that is the most dangerous time.
Yes, it is.
Because women or men who's ever in the abusive situation, statistics tell us that people will leave or attempt to leave an abusive situation 10 times before, sometimes up to 10 times before they can actually go.
Yes.
But we have to realize that trying to leave is the most dangerous time for the victim, for the simple fact then the abuser feels like they're losing that control. And they will do anything to keep that control. If that means taking the life of the person they're abusing or the life of their loved one, whether those are children, grandchildren, family members, mothers, fathers, they will do that. Because if they're going to lose the control of you, they're going to do one last thing to let you know that I can still control.
Right. There has to be a safety plan in place. There has to be a plan in place, and when you execute it, you have to execute it. You can't waver. You have to execute it and move like you did. When your mom came at 8:05 and got you, you have to execute that plan. And we have organizations here, you guys, that can help you do that. And I can't stress enough. If you are in an abusive situation, please seek help. Please tell somebody. Please get out of that situation. You are listening to a living testimony right now. She's here. Did you guys hear what she went through? She's here. I'm here. I know so many other people. We are here, and we're here for a reason. We're here for a reason. God did not allow us to die in that situation for a reason. So I can't stress enough. Please seek help. And I'm going to give you some phone numbers. We're coming up on the end of the show. I'm going to give you some phone numbers. But Patty, I want to give you an opportunity for any last words that you want to share with the listening audience.
What I want to say to anyone that's listening who may know someone affected by domestic violence or yourself is affected by domestic violence, I know this is a scary time. And I know that the last thing you may would want someone to do or know is that you're being abused. You may be living in a very nice home. You may be driving a very nice car. And you may think that you don't want to let anybody know. But you can't drive that car. You can't live in that house if you don't have your life. So I would like you to just think about it. You may not be ready now, but tell a friend. Tell a church member. Tell a sister. Tell someone. And try to get the help you need. There are organizations. I work for the Family Place. There are other organizations. Call us if you need us. We will walk you through. We will do our best to help you through. And I get being afraid. I get that.
Right. Absolutely.
Fight over fear.
Yes. My third husband, he would threaten. He would tell me, I'm going to hurt your family. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And by that point, I was like, please try. Please try.
Right.
Because that ain't what you want to do. Please try.
I just have to ladies try to have a safety plan. Because not everybody leaves the situation, and I understand that. So if you're going to stay in the situation, try to have a safety plan. Use code words with friends. And if I call and I say, I need you to order some pizza, call 911.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Get you some code words. Get you a friend.
Yes. I'm still trying to hold it together here. But listen, if you are in danger, call a local hotline, the National Domestic Violence Hotline. If you're able to dial 911, dial 911. The National Domestic Violence Hotline, that number is 1-800-799-7233. We have local facilities here. The Family Place, you just heard Patty, the Family Place, 214-941-1991. Genesis Women's Shelter, 214-946-4357. One Safe Place in Tarrant County, 817-916-4323. Safe Haven in Tarrant County, 877-701-7233. Patty, thank you again for sharing your story with me, with this listening audience. Thank you so much. You have no idea. You have no idea. I'm probably going to cry all the way home. Try to keep it together now.
Thank you, Patty. Thank you so much.
Hang on. Listen, my desire for this show is that the listening audience will hear something and know that you are not alone in this thing. You are not alone. You have us, and we're here to help. And that maybe there may be an abuser that's listening, male or female, and that in this show, it will bring about a change in their lives. And if no one else have told you today, I love you. Thank you for tuning in.
I just came to testify today to let you know that no matter where you are and no matter where you've been, that God can change you because he changed me. This is my testimony. There's been a change in me, a wonderful change in me. There's been a change in me, a marvelous change in me. Listen, I'm not perfect, I've made mistakes, many regrets from some very dark days. But when I opened my heart to you, I felt that